These are my thoughts on the film. I think The Odyssey is Christopher Nolan's most spiritual film, and I say this because I'm just comparing it to the style of Terrance Malick. If you've seen a Terrance Malick film, you will kind of see similarities between Christopher Nolan's style in this movie and the way Terrance Malick directs, which is to say that there are scenes in this movie where the sound goes very low, the score sets in, and it's ambient music, and it's just characters doing voiceovers, and these voiceovers are often very reflective and kind of like cut in between scenes in a very spiritual, reflective way. And I quite like that because Terrance Malick is one of my favorite directors, and as like a stylistic choice, having the voiceovers in this like ambient way, which is scored by Ludwig Göransson, was very, very good. The score, you can write home about it. It's a 10 out of 10. I loved the use of language in The Odyssey. A lot of people will say, oh man, like I wish The Odyssey had more robust language. I wish the language used was more archaic. And to those people, I'm just like, what is the use of language? The use of language is to ease communication. And if you want to get a point across to someone in a very easy way, in a more understandable way, then it is more appropriate to use modern language, because this is a movie for modern audiences. In that way, Christopher Nolan democratizes The Odyssey, right? Like you and I can experience it and can easily understand it. This idea of like the language not being archaic also annoys me, because I think it ties back to conservative notions of what it means to be civilized, to have old language. It points to a history that you can connect to, a history you can say, oh yeah, like Old English, Shakespeare, we're so cultured. And that's fine and all, like everything is connected, everything feeds into each other. But to complain about a play that is already translated from an ancient language to another language to the present day and complain about it is nonsensical. It doesn't make that much sense. Almost too many star actors. This is a point that has come up a lot. I'm not like, I didn't come up with this originally, but there are almost too many actors in this movie, like star actors, and that's not necessary. Like I yearn for days where I can just discover like a talented working actor that's not infamous. But again, there's this like very famous thing kind of going around Hollywood where it's like your cast needs to have a set amount of combined Instagram followers because the movie needs to be marketable. Like people need to go and watch this new Zendaya film. Well, that's kind of hard to say because she's in everything, and I love Zendaya, but it's just to say that movies are businesses and people need to profit, and so having these star-studded characters, actors helps sell these movies, but it takes you out of the immersion sometimes. That being said, when the actors act, goddamn they act. Pattinson was amazing in this. Zendaya, for the parts she was in, was really good as well. I liked most of the actors in the film, although sometimes they were acting as themselves and not the characters, but that's fine, it's good and all. The other more interesting thing is, I think people complain about Christopher Nolan's cinematography being very blue and orange. Like if you look at Dunkirk, if you look at this movie, and if you look at The Dark Knight, it's very dark, it's very blue. That's because he's colorblind. He's red-green colorblind, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but him being colorblind leads to the movies having these very like muted blue oranges kind of look. And if you complain about the cinematography, it is because those are the colors that pop to him. So that's very interesting. It's because I saw a person comment say, the old Troy movie looked like this, why can't we have movies that look like that? Well, now you know, it's because he's colorblind. The other thing I wanted to say is, this isn't really a spoiler, but my favorite part of the entire movie is with the sirens, where they're singing and they're tempting these sailors to go into the waters, and some do and most stay. And I think it encapsulates a lot about the movie. Because by that point he had already heard that his men would die, and so it's kind of him saying fuck you to the gods and trying his best to preserve his men. So there's this kind of like mortal man versus the gods aspect to The Odyssey, which I really appreciate. Like, what is destiny? Because sometimes when we talk about destiny, people are destined for greatness, but what if you're destined for doom? What if you're destined for death? Can you really fight against that? And I think this movie thematically wrestles with that. Like this hubris of man, like if you sack the great city of Troy, like what's next for you? Do you fashion yourself among the gods, sort of thing? And that's quite interesting, yeah? And then the other thing is also about like loss and guilt, because the way he describes the siren songs in the movie, I don't want to go too into the details of it, but it's about loss, and I think it was beautifully described in the sense where it was like, oh, the thing you desire the most is the thing that you had already lost, the thing that you already had. That's kind of beautiful. So yeah, the siren scene was my favorite scene. The other thematic parts are just like, what does war do to men? When Nolan, directs Odysseus's men, they're kind of like portrayed as savages. Are they savages because they went to war? Did the war transform them into savages? A lot of the movie deals with sacrifice and what does to people, sort of thing. And in a lot of ways, like responsibility as well, because he is the one that is kind of like responsible for defeating Troy because of the Trojan horse. But who dies in this movie? Who's responsible for that? Stuff like that I found quite interesting. This kind of like, are things worth it? Are the things we sacrifice for worth it? And that relates to Agamemnon and his demise as well. Like he got the city, but he lost to his wife. So just interesting things, you know, like power, sacrifice, responsibility. The other thing is just a closing thought is, there's this one scene where he describes how when they took the city of Troy, it was 10 years of built up anger flooding the city in one night, and how it was really destructive. And you can talk about Athena and how she represented herself as one of the victims of the war at night who had been killed. But that was like a beautiful way to describe things, because even I feel in our day-to-day, you can have one flare-up, one moment of anger that you keep paying for over days, over months, over years. And so that was very interesting, like this one huge act of anger, and then he spends 10 years in retribution. So thematically, I think it's an interesting film. Overall, did I enjoy it? Yes, I enjoyed this film. I think it was awesome. I think I loved the film, but I think I was talking to a friend, and I think what I liked about the Odyssey is more the technical aspect and how it was made, and this kind of like detail for like craftsmanship, and like Nolan's intention to like keep employing, you know, like workers and using in-camera stunts. That I really appreciate. And when the Avengers trailer came out, I was just like, what is the Avengers trailer compared to this movie, you know? But the movie itself, I have to rewatch it. I have to live with it, but it's a good film. It's a good film. Maybe even great, but it's okay. The technical aspects are what shine here. Thank you.